Good evening. This is Edward Nan with sonsofgod.com. My voice seems to be going this evening, so I'm not sure how long we will have a word. But this would be 23rd of August, Sunday evening. We've noticed quite an uptick of spiritual activity over the past week, which is, of course, not a surprise because this would be the timeline for the enemy to really give it his best. We've known for some time and have seen that the enemy is aware that this is his last hurrah, you might say. And so I'm not surprised at what we see unfolding in the earth right now, especially, actually globally. Each country has its own sets of dynamics that we see unfolding. But we've never seen the state of the world as close to anarchy and chaos as we see it at this point in time. And of course, this is just one step in a direction that appears to be unfolding. But it's something that we will just sit and watch. Right now, the Lord's not directing anything to be spoken with respect to a lot of what's unfolding. It's an interesting scenario because the children of this world is pretty much what we see unfolding in their activities. In many ways, the sons of God, as we've said before, are not a part of this age. And that really is much more of a truth than we really have understood. Because I know that we've seen it from one very viable perspective, that God has been, delivering us out of this age. And that is the Word. And so you could say the layers that are involved there has to do with the mindset and the conditioning and the paradigm and the belief system that we have absorbed or brought along on this sojourn with our exposure to the world. But the sons never were a part of this age. And the deliverance is really freeing them to know that truth. And the deeper that begins to resonate, the more you find yourself in a third person watching what's unfolding in the earth and realizing that you're not a part of it. So it's kind of a interesting way to look at things. I know that between now and October, even going into November, are going to see some volatile changes happen. And but this is as well the time that deep changes are to be completed in the sons of God. It's for this timeline that you've been raised up. And in many ways, the sons, as we've said before in the books that we've written, the sons are the warrior kings of this age that God has raised up and is raising up to be those that really bring down the kingdoms of this age. And more than ever, we're in that position at this time. And this will become more and more of a reality that we will have to begin to deal with as the Lord begins to direct it more clearly. But there are so many things happening concurrently right now. And I think the more that we understand, and this is hard to understand really, because what I'm about to say, because we're very much a physical being. That's a great deal of our reality. We know we have a spirit, we know we have a soul, and we know the reality of the spirit to some degree, depending upon how much you've experienced that, and of course the soul. Fairly easy to discern and understand the soul, because we're dealing with the souls of men constantly, and our own soul, as God has been in the process of purifying it. But what is more challenging to grasp is the fact that we really are multi-dimensional beings, and are not really limited as we perceive ourselves to be. Unfortunately, we still see ourselves limited, and I'm just being honest. And that's a deep one that has to be thrown off. You might say by faith you don't see yourself as limited, and we know the word substantiates that, and we believe that. But it's the travail to bring that word and that truth into a manifested reality through us and within us. And so there are so many aspects to the sons that God is raising up that far surpasses their understanding, our understanding of our capability of what God has equipped the saints of light. And here again, the equipping of the saints of light is far more extensive than we've understood. But we're still working through, we're coming out of a limited way of seeing ourselves and God. Because each and every one that God has called is so much greater than what they see themselves as. And it's just interesting, the involvement of the cloud of witnesses at this time, because they are here as well, listening to the word. And I don't mean that in any arrogant sense. It's just that they're very involved in seeing things wrapped up and in getting into a greater level of freedom themselves. It's really hard to understand the life that is lived in the realm of spirit by those that have gone on, because they really don't sleep. It's not to say that there aren't many that do sleep in Christ, and here again a lot of that would be semantics and what you would define as sleeping in Christ and whatnot. But more than ever at this time in history, those that God brings to the other side that are part of the cloud of witnesses, that are part of this movement of sonship that is in the earth, if they transition from this level and they go to the other side and have not yet possessed the promise of resurrection life, which is pretty much the case, they're very active and involved. And I know that we should be feeling their presence even more so. And I expect that that will open up quite a bit more in their involvement and interaction with the sons on this side of the veil. And we've talked about that as being, something that's right here. There are so many things that are right here at the door, ready to open up, as far as experiences in God, as far as a whole new level of life in God, even prior to the breakthrough of resurrection life, even prior to, other things that God has revealed. We're right here at the door. And it hasn't changed in the last week or 2 weeks or 2 months or 6 months. We're right here at the door. And we continue to be right here as the Lord has positioned the sons for what is about to open up. And I know that the changes that are going to happen in the earth are tied into the breakthrough of the sons of God. And this is something we've talked about many times, because the presence of Christ that is manifested through the sons will bring, and is bringing even now, a measure of judgment in the earth plane that we're just now beginning to see. You can look at the riots that are happening and all of the various elements of chaos and this virus and other things, and all of the political deceit that is happening and is being more and more exposed. And all of this is happening as a measure of judgment that is already here. These things wouldn't be getting exposed, at least to those who have eyes to see. Things are becoming plain and very clear to see, although the rest of the world, by and large, is probably still taking things hook, line, and sinker. But to those who have eyes to see, it's becoming very evident the chaos and deception and the manipulation that's going on. And this is a product of God's judgment that has already begun to flow into the earth. These are in direct correlation to both judgment and to the Father's plan, as everything is being kind of lined up like dominoes. And like dominoes, they're going to begin to fall. So that's about all that we want to say this evening. This is very short, but we're right here on the firing line. And we've been here on the firing line. watching, waiting, and listening. Because this is the time of tremendous change. We're going to see, we've already begun to see a lot of geopolitical garbage going on the face of the earth. We're going to begin to see a lot more natural disasters because, as we've said, the earth is in travail. And the earth is very much an entity, a consciousness that exists. It's part of God's kingdom, if you will. It's not what the New Agers or people call Mother Earth and whatever they say, but the earth is part of God's kingdom, and the earth is in travail. And we have barely scratched the surface of what this travail is going to show. But all you have to do is take a couple steps backward or just come up a little higher, and you can begin to see what they would call, let me see what the math is. It's, I think the math is chaos or entropy, but it's an element of math that basically finds order in disorder. Yeah. And so you step back far enough, you begin to see all of these random events that are happening. Some in the same arena, others not. And you begin to see how it's all interconnected, like a fine matrix. And in years past, we've talked about a matrix that exists over the face of the earth, not in the context of what some New Age people or shamans would refer to, but a type of energy that circumnavigates the entire world and creates a certain level of connectivity where for every action there is a reaction. For every movement of God in the earth, there is a corresponding reaction on the other side, not necessarily of the globe, but from the enemy, if we want to put it in those terms. Every cause has a reaction, and part of that is how the matrix works that is around the face of the earth. So what is going to continue to unfold with the geophysical events and geopolitical and whatever other events, they're very much interconnected. And we're going to see it. Something may happen on one side of the globe, and you'll see a reaction on the other side of the globe, and without really revelation, you won't be able to connect the two. You'll see two random events saying, oh, that happened over there, oh, that's interesting, that happened over there, oh, that's interesting, but you won't understand that they're connected, which makes it far more significant than just a few random events. And what's happening in the earth right now with the riots and all of these things that are going on, they're very much connected. And they're connected even to the geophysical events that will begin to happen. And they will begin to happen. So we watch, like watchmen on the wall and listen to what the Lord might say, what he would direct. But we understand that everything is connected. Everything is connected. And if you stop and you look at whatever's happening in the earth from that perspective, it'll begin to make a lot more sense. You'll begin to understand that things are escalating. They are escalating. And they're going to escalate even more so as the weeks and the months unfold before us. And they're all interconnected to the rising of the suns and to the release of the suns. It's interesting, all of creation is in travail, not just the earth, but the elements. And they have, for a very long time, been under the control and manipulation of the satanic powers. When I say elements, the elemental beings that control the rain, the clouds, the wind, so many aspects of nature. They've all been controlled, not of their will, by the satanic overlords that have wielded the power over this age. And they have been able to manipulate them to do their bidding and bring about natural disasters that weren't necessarily in the plan, you might say. But all of this is in a shift, and it's in a change right now. And the elemental beings, the elements, are beginning to get free. And the travail is what's bringing it about, the travail of all creation. But if we just understand that everything is connected, there is no coincidence, there is nothing that's just kind of a random act of violence. It's all connected, deeply connected. And we're going to see a lot more of this unfold. You could almost chart it on a map as you begin to watch different things around the world that would seemingly be unconnected, random, but realize that they are not. They are all really about one goal of moving humanity down a certain direction. And of course, I don't believe that's going to happen as Satan would hope, because the suns are rising up. And in the perfect timing of the Lord, the word will come on another level. The word's already been coming, that is shaking the heavens and the earth, but I think it's just a small little shake, a little rumbling. But the word is going to come sooner than later. That is really going to turn everything upside down. And I'll end this with a word that God brought, 6 to 9 months ago. And it was very clear when he spoke. It's coming sooner than you think. So Ann and I send our blessings this evening, and we'll see the next timing for the next podcast. Alrighty.